You don't? Yeah, it's working.
Yeah.
So we're just taking a look at the footprints here. There's the squirrel, the rabbit, the coyote, and the duck. So it is snowing right now, and it will be pretty soon covered. So it's a good place to come check out what the wildlife leave behind. And over here, I wanted to show you also, we've got some owls that live in this park. Really cool. They have great hearing, really unique eyesight. It says it's a myth that owls cannot turn their head all the way around, but it's very close. They can't move their eyes like people can, so they turn their head 75% almost all the way around. They rely on this very flexible neck to catch their predators. They're very silent hunters, so when they fly in the forest, the prey cannot hear them. The feathers have very soft edges. So let's take a look here, the different types. There's a barred owl. The barred owl is one of the larger ones, and it's called a barred owl because it has bars, almost like bars on its chest here. Notice he's got this kind of heart-shaped face. This is where all the sound collects here, is in the front of the face. This is the barn owl. You can tell because it's also got the very white face. Sometimes they actually go into people's barns and make their nests in the winter. That's why they're called the barn owl. This is the largest one. This is the great horned owl. And yeah, very, very exciting if you actually do hear or see one of these. They're quite large. This one, on the other hand here, the northern saw-whet owl, is very small. Very small, so maybe about the size of your hand. I personally have only seen the barred owl and the barn owl, but at night here, if you come out with night vision glasses, maybe you'll be able to see the other ones. Okay.
All right. So it turns off, so you have to like. Okay.
Is it turning on? Yeah. Okay. Usually it's still on. So we're here at the loop right now. Maybe we'll head this way. We're gonna fork to the right. Can you guys see the snow? Wow. Just starting to snow a little bit here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Beautiful here. So there's Birch Trail and then there's Queble Trail here. If we want to go to the lake, we can stay to the middle trail. As we look around the forest, what do we see, Nathan?
We see lots of, they look like dead trees.
Yeah, this is what happens in the winter. In the winter time, what happens to the trees?
Loses all the leaves, eh?
They lose the leaves and they go to sleep.
Ah.
They're actually dormant right now, which means that they're actually, yeah, we're gonna take a look at some of this moss, weren't we? So right now in winter time, the trees are dormant, which means they're kind of sleeping. They're not growing anymore right now. They're taking a break and they're healing from all the growing that they've done. So you can take a look around the forest here. You don't see any leaves on these trees. So these are called deciduous trees. They lose their leaves and fall on the ground. The other ones that are still green, like this one over here, that's called the evergreen tree because it stays green all winter. So I know that in Celtic folklore, they believed that these trees were supernatural and had very strong strength because they actually still had green on them, even in the middle of the dead of forest. It might be minus 50, they still have green. So that's part of the reason that tradition of the Christmas tree actually came inside, because they were worshiping the fact that these trees can manage to survive in a very cold winter.
So, but are they here also during summer?
Yeah.
All season?
So they are here all season. The evergreen trees, they stay green the whole season, and they keep their needles as well. But the only time I see that the needles actually fall off is when there's a drought. So sometimes in the summertime when it really dries out, sometimes they turn a little yellow and lose some of their leaves. But they're the hardiest ones. Yeah.
Nice.
We've got a nice little babbling brook here along the side.
I guess do salmon does this cat? No, maybe.
Well, this is a stocked lake.
Oh, okay.
So I know
Oh,
that they
stocked, yeah.
actually put trout and fry in the lake, actually, to keep it going, and they stock it every year, and then people actually can go fishing in that lake.
Awesome.
But they have a little bit of an issue with people putting their goldfish, I've noticed.
Oh,
Sometimes in the shallows in the summertime, I've seen goldfish in the shallows, and that's not really great for the trout because the trout really need cold water, but the goldfish, they kind of mess up the lake there a little bit. So
Yeah. Oh, wow.
yeah, don't put your pets in the lake, please.
Mhm.
Keep them at home or take them back to your pet store. Don't put them in the lake. They don't survive very well, and it's not great for the ecosystem.
Yeah.
All right, so I wanted to zoom in on this. I was just gonna grab, I see that there's this stick here and it's got something growing on it. Yeah, cool. So what I wanted to do was just look this up. It's a really interesting thing here. I'm just gonna take a minute and grab my book out of the back here. Does anybody have any guesses on what that could be? It's kind of white. It looks kind of like a small moss, but it's got a different name. Has anybody got any guesses?
Is it off or?
No, I think it's still on.
But it's yeah.
Yeah, it just goes dark like
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Okay, so, all right, so let's take a look here. Does this look like it? These are different kinds of lichens. Lichens. And so this one is called the hooded bone lichen. So the habitat is it grows on trees, mosses, and boulders, and is somewhat shaded in where it likes to grow. It can grow at some elevations. So it looks like this. Now, what is interesting about this one here is it says both species, much less common, the hooded bone lichens, among most pollutant and it's basically most tolerant to pollution and tolerant of micro lichens. Hooded bone is familiar species to the cities and parks and boulevards. So it's a very common one. And the name in Greek, it says it's phytos, is actually Greek for means inflated looking. So it looks a little bit puffy. If you guys can see on this. The cool thing is when you come to the park, you can actually touch it, but it looks kind of like really hard and puffy. It's kind of a light gray color. So these are really tolerant to any kinds of pollution, which is good. And they grow on our trees. So they just attach themselves here at the back, and their roots are really hardy. They go right into the kind of the bark there to hold on. This is a little microclimate right here. So there's maybe different kinds of bugs or different kinds of bacteria that live in this little microclimate. Really cool.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. All right, let's venture on.
Are they the same? No, this one is different.
Yeah, these are different. So these are different. We were looking up different kinds of moss. So the difference between moss and lichen is moss is a plant that has green and it's usually soft and furry, whereas the lichens are not. They're hard. So let's take a look, see if we can find what kind of moss do you think this is. There's something called a